the president has now made this sports event more about him and not about the players or literally. The NBA Finals has been one of our last, monocultures, if you will, and now here comes the president.
Absolutely. Look, there's several ways we can approach this thing. I want to approach it two different ways. The first and foremost is people have to realize this city does not like Donald Trump. So for this is just more gasoline on an already burning tire fire. And this isn't just about his election totals in the 16, 20, and 24 elections in the city where you can see how disliked he is. This goes back decades. I grew up in this town. You know, whether we're talking about the 1970s and him not renting to black people, the 80s, his treatment of the Central Park exonerated five, his desire to develop our parks and put his tacky hotels on them. There have been movements against Donald Trump in this town for decades. He is not the favorite son of New York. He is the curse of this city. So for the people I'm talking to, this, like I said, is just more burning tires on the fireplace. The second point that needs to be made is that if people are upset about this, the blame doesn't really start with Donald Trump. It starts with James Dolan, the owner of the New York Knicks. Yes, who until recently had the heavyweight belt for worst owner in professional sports. Now the Knicks run has people looking at him a little more nicely, and now Dolan does this, like King Midas in reverse. People finally like him, and he invites Donald Trump. But people need to know about the commonalities between these two men. James Dolan has been accused of sexual battery, sexual harassment, and having unsafe workplaces. James Dolan has been accused of racism repeatedly, and James Dolan, of course, comes from wealth. So he and Donald Trump, if nothing else, have many shared interests.
It's very, very interesting, this dynamic about New York and Donald Trump. Right. And a lot of New Yorkers back in 15 and 16 were warning the rest of the country, y'all don't want this. We're telling you, don't go there. And they did. But here we've now come full circle. And I thought it was very interesting, Stephen A. Smith. Well, you know,
you might like what Stephen A. Smith had to say.
This morning on ESPN, let's take a listen to my buddy Steve.
This president has no business showing up in New York City. I am dead serious. It is selfish. It is narcissistic. It is ridiculous that he is coming to this game. I would say the same thing if it were Obama, George W., Clinton. I don't give a damn. We went back to Reagan.
And that seems to encapsulate a little bit of the mindset, taking whatever you think about Smith and politics out of the presidents generally did not attend these types of events. And for a very good reason, practical. We don't want people to have to wait 2 hours, to Simone's point, just to get into the arena, and then all the protections that
the footprint of a president is vast.
It's massive. Huge. Yes, it's huge, and it ripples far and wide to the point that you cannot, in this case, bring even a bag into the arena. But it also just speaks to the idea that this is the people's sport. This is the people's time. They're going to go and they're going to have a good evening. And I'll hear it and watch it on TV or whatever. So I don't need to be personal because I'm the president. Everybody know who I am. They don't need to see me. They're there to watch the game.
So there's several things that are problematic about this. First off, I'm going to say broken clocks. Fine. Stephen A. Smith says something reasonable about politics. I'm sure it was an accident. The second thing, which I think is absolutely key, is it's not just that the president leaves a huge footprint. He's not a fan. Right? He is not a fan. He doesn't care about basketball.
You don't just mean, I was about to say the NBA.
Yeah, he's not a fan of the NBA. He attacks NBA players all the time. There's real fans. See, I'm wearing Spurs colors. I'm a real fan, okay? Like, there are those of us who actually care about the results. Awesome. I made this very clear. I got Fiesta colors on. Please win me tonight. But here's the thing. If you were an actual fan, right, when presidents showed up to, like, the Final Four and college basketball, when Obama did it or when Bush did it, whatever, you could believe that they at least cared. But everyone, whether you care about politics or not, knows that he is only doing this so that there will be attention on him. There is no joy that Donald Trump actually gets from the game of basketball. And that's one of the other reasons. And I will also say this because I think Dave is absolutely right. The idea of sort of sane washing or sports washing, if you have all these other terrible things, we have a World Cup that is starting in this country. And this president has been ridiculously hostile, talking about he's going to send ICE agents, attacking people from other countries. So the idea that he can hide behind this event, which has brought the whole country together, but make us forget the fact that he has attacked an international sporting event that we're all supposed to be happy about, is another reminder of his inherent hypocrisy and selfishness.
But don't take our word for it, Dave. I want to let you respond. I want you to just take a listen to what Knicks fans had to say about all of this.
I hope he gets booed so hard and does not come back, to be honest.
I just think there's better things to do as a president. I wouldn't want any president, regardless of party.
Like go to your son's wedding.
Maybe go to the son's wedding, but we got this thing with Iran. You keep saying we got done. We got all these stuff you're doing. You got work to do.
Once everybody's in, just raise the roof and, nobody needs extra airtime right now. You need to focus on the floor.
Focus on the floor.
Dave?
Wow. I mean, first, people might not know this, but one thing, I'm in the city right now. One thing Mayor Mamdani is doing is that he's setting up an area near Madison Square Garden called Bryant Park for 5,000 people to come out and watch the game there, basically setting up an alternative watch party. Very smart politics, because people are infuriated by what's happening right now over at Madison Square Garden on 33rd Street and 7th Avenue. I was there today. It's not even about people who are Knicks fans, although it does seem like everybody's a Knicks fan right now, but you can't even get around Midtown. I mean, people are incensed about this. And I'll tell you something that President Obama and Bush had in common, and I know they didn't have much in common, was that they both gave voice to the fact that they didn't want to go to too many of these big events because of the inconveniences it would cause others. So they were they picked and choose what they went to on the basis of what would cause the least amount of inconvenience for the thousands of people going. And for Donald Trump, he has no such concerns. And in some ways, it feels like a hateful, spiteful act towards a city that, frankly, detests him just as much.
Dave, real quick, and Simona, you can dovetail on my question as well. Just real quick, how does this contextualize with the upcoming UFC crazy that's about to happen here in Washington? I mean, it just for me, Simone, it's just one of those things. I as a native Washingtonian, I am not just offended. I just at a point where I can't even contextualize the sense that it would make to have something so massively out of place overshadowing the White House in celebration of our 250th birthday or Donald Trump.
I don't know what UFC has to do with our semi-quincentennial celebration. Maybe
well, it's his
Dave
80th
can
birthday
enlighten us.
too.
Oh yeah, and his 80th birthday, and he's not necessarily looking very spry.
Yeah. One thing I will say about it is that UFC and the Daytona 500, those are two of the last sporting events where Donald Trump will not be booed. So one way is he's trying to set up a safe space for himself while he'll actually get cheered. I mean, this is a president who got booed at a Washington Commanders game. He got booed at the U.S. Open with that genteel crowd. Do you know how unpopular you have to be booed at the U.S. Open? I mean, other than the reincarnation of Benito Mussolini, I don't know what it would take to have people at the U.S. Open boo you. And yet somehow in some ways, it's his most remarkable accomplishment.
I know we only have a little bit of time left, but I continue to believe that Donald Trump, just like him putting his name on all of these things, just like him wanting to show up at these sporting events, he's not just trying to be cool. He is trying to arrest the culture, the cultural narrative. Yes, that is. Can we agree?
It's the last part. It's not even the front part, because the cool piece, I don't even think.
Yeah, I don't think he's trying to be cool. I think he's trying to arrest the cultural narrative.
Culture.
He wants to be a part of the conversation, and at some points, certainly at a time like now, even if that conversation is negative, he wants people to be talking about him. And we cannot forget the fact that his man crush, Mamdani, is still loved in that city. Right? This is the guy who went into his office and charmed him and had Trump eating out of his hands. And the idea that this team is possibly going to win and win this championship in 4 or 5 days, and Mamdani will be the person marching through the city. Mamdani will be the person that is associated with this first victory in 25 years. That's got to be eating him alive inside, because it's a New York thing, and Trump still wants to think of himself as the king of New York.
We see the president. The president is in the box. I believe, is that Lee Zeldin behind him? Oh, and the transportation secretary, Sean Duffy. All of these folks. All right.
Look at those young eyes, Simone.
Yeah, I can see them, honey. I put put my contacts in.
Before we go, because Dave, I want to give you the last word here. We've talked about what it means for the culture. I also just like sports are fundamentally about community. It's like the most, to me, it's like the most compelling part of sports, and the fact that community, like all of these events outside of the arena for people who can't afford these tickets, has been undermined in the process. That also seems to me like not understanding the moment.
Oh, absolutely. But this is about him. I mean, this is what happens when you have a narcissistic personality disorder. It's not about New York. It's not about the team. It's not about the incredible vibe that's in this city right now. Trust me, it is wild here, blue and orange as far as the eye can see. He makes it about him. And that's frankly what makes him unfit to be the president of this country.